can see behind me, there are people already gathering. More importantly, you can see what the federal courthouse looks like. It has been surrounded by a very sturdy chain link fence. That's to protect the building. So that was in anticipation of the demonstrations that were planned for today, all day. In fact, the Rise Up Abortion Rights group has said not just noon, but at 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock, and they'll move the demonstration to another location, which may be a little bit more open for people to arrive. Skyfox is overhead to give you a broader sense of what's going on downtown. People are arriving right now, and they will be participating in this demonstration against this opinion from the Supreme Court. I'm going to bring in Luna Hernandez. She is with the group Rise Up Abortion Rights. And Luna, your reaction to what happened today. I know we anticipated this, but when you finally heard the opinion come down, what did you think?
I thought this decision must not stand. We have to demand legal abortion. This Supreme Court is illegitimate. These abortion bans are illegitimate. Forced motherhood is illegitimate. I thought everyone has to leave work right now. Everyone has to get into the streets and stay and demand that this decision get reversed.
Now, this is
fire for your mind. The kosher clinician.
Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. When the truth don't work, you start telling lies. Thought you were down to ride, you weren't down to ride. Caught switching, you were picking sides. Don't blink, caught slipping like a slip and slide. I was shooting dice till I got a nosebleed. Money on the floor, can't get cold feet. Took an L, should've put it in the offering. Lord, forgive me for my sins, don't know of me. Scary thoughts, I got scary thoughts. Lost control, now I'm taking charge. Breaking bills, friends breaking off. You could be the youngest, I'm the dawn. Kiss the ring, nah. In the scene like GOT. Stay awake, don't sleep. Like Jon Snow, get R.I.P. Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. Just me, myself, and I, my favorite threesome. The cars I drive by, I never lease them. They say if you can't beat them, then you join them. That's no option, I don't join, I always beat them. I was faking, had to find me. Now I'm on beat, skating like I'm grinding. L hit me, said it's all about the timing. If you want the vision, get to spinning. My mama told me trust in God, it's never limits. Now I'm on the scoreboard, running up the digits. I put in work, you know I'm up to get it. Early bird gets the worm and the Yankee fitted. Like, whoa, bags under my eyes and you know. Won't complain, I'm tired, I'm on go. For that grip, 10 toes till they swole. For that grip, 10 toes till they swole. Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. I was starving, now I'm eating till my belly full. From up north, we get cold, you need a heavy coat. Scared to end up on a shirt before a centerfold. Devil on my back, target on me, deadly too. Play the keys, don't tweet. It's my peace, don't speak. 24, no sleep. This is real, no tweet. My bros for life, can't break this link. Family on my side, baby stay around me. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want this. I'm all in my head, swear I'm a wreck. I've been moving like a hot mess. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want this. I'm all in my head, swear I'm a wreck. I've been moving like a hot mess.
What
that convo, better know you'll need a check from me. Can pay to play, the sun still won't get a cent from me. I mix the fit up with the salt like it's a remedy. I mix it up inside the pot, watch it drip while it drop. Time to take it to the top. Chips all in the middle like it fall, no I won't flop. We gon' pop like a soda can top. To me this is nothing, call my bluff and I won't stop when I flex. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want best. By any means, that's a triple threat. That ass is getting bigger, I might flex. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want best. I'm all in my head, swear I'm a wreck. I've been moving like a hot mess. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want best. I'm all in my head, swear I'm a wreck. I've been moving like a hot mess. I hit record a drop, you can't ignore it. I'm transforming now these cars and planes, I'm always boarding. Just out touring down in Charlotte like I play for Hornets. When I'm performing, never boring, now you can't afford it. Champagne Perrier, finished friends on my face. Looking like I'm from the deep, these no Cartiers. Pockets deep, bro. I can make it in my seat, bro. Do you, I'm doing me, bro. Making noise, use a beat, bro. I press the button and the doors go off like that money clip us now, the new now looks like upgrade her diamonds, now her girlfriends are like Neighborhood on the scene, neighborhood on the strip. Neighborhood be the name, neighborhood no crib. Neighborhood that's me, neighborhood that's Nick. Neighborhood do the dance, neighborhood do the dip. Okay, thought I'd never make it like no way. I'm the real deal, no role play. My days off, that's no days. No, I hustle hard, yeah, I'm rose. E be the shooter, that's cold case. Bills on the deals, that's brose. Got no pay, don't no say. Okay, this the news, tell them read it. Been the one since the fetus. Don't sleep on me, Tempur-Pedic. That's a no. Spending dope for no reason. Got a ball head, Mr. Cleaner. Heard the big bags overseas, then we gon' go. I press the button and the doors go off like that money clip us now, the new now looks like upgrade her diamonds, now her girlfriends are like I press the button and the doors go off like that money clip us now, the new now looks like upgrade her diamonds, now her girlfriends are like tunnel vision when I hit the holland. Working on that cause my mind is on an island. Told my babies I'll be homeless, so don't stay up. Breaks my heart to see them sad, so I won't wait up. Need it all that's mine, I need it now. I lost my patience the same week I lost my smile. My baby pressed me, said I'm acting like a child. I took some L's, can't lie, that really brought me down. I'm so antisocial, but I guess it's type selective. Swear I'll make a change, but for now I just can't help it. Only trusting God in these scars that I've been dealt with. I'ma do my job, time to grind, time to ignore. They know, 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 they know. Pedal to the metal, they know. Gone and I won't let up, they know. I'm not so I'm fed up, they know. Say it for the record, they know. They know, they know, they know. Yeah, they know. Pedal to the metal, they know. I'm not so I'm fed up, they know. Why you never sign? You sign when you go live. Stuck inside that bubble, never ever go outside. You don't know you know computers, you're a tech guy. Back against a wall, you gon' fall or you gon' ride. I feel the pressure, foot to the pedal. My dogs, they fed up, my squad won't let up. Those sneakers CDG, hot on step on. My money yoga, the weight is stretch on. I change locations to change the weather. Know when that rain come, got my umbrella. And when my day come, my name gon' stay up. Yeah, I know. Pedal to the metal, they know. Gone and I won't let up, they know. I'm not so I'm fed up, they know. Say it for the record, they know. Yeah, they know. Pedal to the metal, they know. I'm not so I'm fed up, they know.
Pain. I've been there, locked up inside my head, broken from fear, illusions, disappointment, and hopelessness. Who heard me in my silence, where being a man means nothing? Despair. I've been there too, desperately seeking answers for the questions associated with manhood, hills and valleys, too bleak to compare. Stress, suffering in a utility silo, no comfort, no security, no freedom, no justice, just do it for others. Challenges, who will help me break the challenges? Lost in the vortex of darkness, hopelessness, fear, and abandonment. I've been there too. I've been there too. Take the next step to your destiny. Join me in this fight. Walk forward. Deep breaths. Head held high, men. Come join me, men, in the winds of time. Stories, hopes, visions, purified in the fire. I'm not a superhero, and I'm not the Reverend Knight. I'm here to help you. Join me, men, in this fight. Break the chains of your mind. Let's do it now. For now is all we have. Fire for your mind. The kosher clinician. Warning, you are about to enter a territory that's designated by men for all men. And while my platform is clearly designated for all men, many times I will be talking about issues that are endemic only to men of the ADOS descent. If you are a woman coming into the Kosher Clinician Show, understand that these topics are topics that are more or less salient to male issues. You need to be mature. You need to be open-minded. You need to listen. To those that think that because they come or allow women to come into space, that this space will be compromised for the sake of beauty, image, or more or less chicanery of any form, you will be greatly deceived. My platform is designed to empower men and to empower good women that are trying to find resolve. And while my channel is designated primarily for the functioning of male rights and male empowerment, it is good and clear for balance to hear a different perspective. You have been warned. If listening to the Kosher Clinician is not advantageous to your psyche, please exit left. All right, guys, we're going to have a discussion, great discussion on the night. Won't be with you long, but we're going to talk about the Roe v. Wade situation, and we're going to have a live show where we bring a couple of brothers up, and it's going to be an open panel, and we're going to talk about the implications of Roe v. Wade. If some of you men have lost children based on Roe v. Wade, and what do you think it's going to mean for the trajectory of America, but mostly Black America, with many of our babies being deleted? And do you think it's going to lead to civil unrest? So I'm going to drop the link at some point. We're going to have an open panel, guys. This is going to be a live open panel. And once again, what is your take on the Roe v. Wade situation? Is it a win for men? Is it a win for boys? Or it's going to come with severe repercussions, as potentially many will go to California to find safe havens and refuge. Shout out to my man Tim Howell for that $5 super sticker. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate it. He said, protect unborn babies. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that, brother. Thank you. And so this is going to be an open discussion, guys. We're going to have an open discussion on the night. What are the implications of Roe v. Wade? Because some would say that, my body, my choice. But then some will argue, what does this mean? Because that baby has a body of its own. And the baby, if that baby can't choose, then why should she choose unanimously? And so we know that birth rates are dropping. We know that, the Black population has declined. But many will argue, if many of our women had had their children, what would they have been more or less as it relates to productivity, but also to brilliance and greatness? Some of you guys are alive today because your parents decided to bring you into life. But some decided to delete their babies for whatever reason. And we know that there are some that use deletions as a form of safe sex, but deletions should never be used as a form of safe sex. I would say, in the worst case scenario, it should only be for those that have been raped. But in general, some have used deletions for a form of contraceptive. And when you think about it more succinctly, guys, as you think about it more succinctly, there's been issues around the deletion rate, and our community have it mostly. So we're going to have an open panel. What does this mean as it relates to the Black community and the Black family, or all families in general? Is this a win for boys and men? Will this cause civil unrest by left-wing politicians, but also those that are left in thinking? What does this mean also as it relates to the new Black community? Is this a sign that the Black community can be restored? And so these conversations are important because, once again, some of you men are still dealing with trauma because you lost your child, because you got with a woman that did not get your consent, and she more or less deleted your seed when you pleaded with her and begged her not to delete it. So we need to have a conversation. Not going to be with you guys long. We got a powerful show tomorrow with the Angry Man. We're going to talk about science psychology. And I plan to have another one also with Chantel Simone, and that's going to be called Death Psychology. We're going to have 2 power-packed shows back-to-back, hopefully. I got to go to a wedding in the morning. And so I wanted to hear you men's point of view on this epic decision with Roe v. Wade, as some are ecstatic that it happened, but some are angry because they feel like it's an infringement on their rights. And so many will argue that it's probably good that it happened because it's going to be a sign of greater things to change. So I'm going to pull this link up, guys. This is from Newsweek, and hold tight, and we're going to have a discussion because I'm interested in hearing what some of you men think about this whole situation. It's going to be more of an open live panel, and I'm just going to go through some of the shenanigans real quick. Hold tight, guys. So once again, it's about 23 after 10, and we need to have a conversation. What does RV Wade mean to you? Are you a victim of RV Wade, meaning you didn't have your rights? And what are the outcomes, once again, as it relates to community, as it relates to low birth rates, and also as it relates to the empowerment of our boys and our girls, because this deletion is not just our little boys, but it's our little boys and our little girls. So we need to have a conversation, and so we will pull up the link at some point. But I want you guys' comments, and I will read the comments. And so once again, thank you guys for tuning in. I got Key from my significant other, and she told me about it, and I hadn't heard anything about it because I was at work. And so let's look at it, because this is very important. Some say it's leftist propaganda, but we're not here to talk about politics. We're here to talk about a faltering Black community. So once again, guys, get the likes up. We may read through some of these comments. Guys, share the stream. If you have not donated to the channel, donate to the channel, please. Donate to the channel. Shout out to my man, Top Gun. Top Gun is always in the building. But a lot of these women, guys, are going to struggle because they're dealing with egocentria. They're delusional. They think that, they were treated unfairly. But some say that it's necessary for having a stronger and a more vibrant community. As you see and I see, the birth rates have been dropping for a period of time now. And because the birth rates have been dropping, imagine where we could have been as a nation and a community if some of our women had decided and some of our men didn't put them under pressure to delete their babies. But now deletion is becoming the new birth control for many. And we know that there are mitigating circumstances that merit deletion. Some will argue that nothing merits deletion because all souls are a form of life. But what we're seeing now is that so many, and some will argue that it was targeted to the Black community, have chosen to use the Black community as a safeguard to cause a level of discomfort, and some will call it the eugenics of the Black community. And sadly, many argue that so many liberal politicians use us as guinea pigs to accomplish their agenda. So what does it mean as it relates to the mental health of those men that lost their babies through self-deletion? And what are the potential implications with the women? They're going to have an issue with it because they struggle with the decision. And many of those women are delusional because they have many are delusional about the implications as it relates to our community, or what some would say a faltering or dead community. So I'm going to drop the link at some point, but in the meantime, let's look at the historical context of Roe v. Wade. And we're going to look at the eugenist Margaret B. Sanger, as some will argue she was complicit and trying to destroy our once vibrant community. So once again, guys, get the likes up. Thank you again, Tim Howard, for the $5 super sticker. I'm going to pull that link up. Hold tight, guys. And we're going to have a conversation. Hold tight. Let me see if I can find it. And so it says that those of Ado descent are ambivalent about the Roe v. Wade decision. So let's play this real quick, and then let's look at the wickedness of Margaret Sanger and the implications that should have never happened, and where do we go from here?
I'm sorry. I've repented. I've asked Jesus into my heart. I've started Roe No More ministry.
Norma McCorvey, a.k.a. Jane Roe. This is my deathbed confession.
Norma McCorvey became the embodiment of the pro-choice cause.
All right, so let me read through some of these comments, guys. I don't know what this thing is doing, but we're going to look at the dynamics with this R v. Wade decision, man, and what it means to the ADOS community or those of the African diaspora long term, because some of you women and some of you men have been victims mentally of deletions, and some of the women have had a level of distress because they did it. But a lot of the men are struggling because they never had say in that deletion, and they struggle because when the anniversary rolls around, they say, if my child was living, that child would have been X amount of age. And so these conversations are very tenuous, to say it best. I'm going to use select language for the sake of the algorithm, because if you say anything crazy, it will more or less demonetize the show. The show that I did with my man, Therapist Horn, it wasn't monetized because of words. I'll show it to you guys in a minute. But in the meantime, get the likes up, guys. If you have not shared the stream, please share the stream. And if you have not donated, donate to Cash App $7Smalls. But if you don't have any money to donate, please just share the stream. I'm forever grateful for the support that I continually get as we seek to bring balance in these times that are very turbulent. So let me read through some of the comments. Shout out to SA. SA said that less deletion, meaning more child support, meaning more money for the states. That's interesting. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Barry Hamilton said, good evening, Kosher, and Top Gun and Tim Howard. Shout out, brothers. So shout out to Ms. Parker, back to basics as well. And we're going to have a quick expose. This will not be a long show, but we're going to talk about it because these conversations are important. And several content creators have talked about it today. But I want to hear you guys' input briefly about the R v. Wade decision and what it means to those of the African diaspora and what we should do to move forward. So this is fair use. Hold tight, guys. This is fair use. And let's see what this woman is talking about. The nature of Margaret Sanger, a woman that many are not aware of as it relates to her plan for eugenicide or infanticide as it relates to Black people and the Black community. Some will argue that, these liberals or more or less some of these eugenists use Black people as a token or people of the African descent to destroy the Black race. So let's listen, guys, for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to drop the link.
Control League, which later became Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger was no doubt a controversial figure with disturbing views on eugenics, race, and population control. While some argue she even wanted to exterminate the Black race, others are trying to erase that part of her past.
The Mike Wallace interview. In the eyes of some, Margaret Sanger has been a heroine. In the eyes of others, she's been a destructive force.
In her own words, Sanger pushed for a society that limited births to those she deemed fit to have children.
I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance.
And some will argue, guys, that Margaret Sanger was part of the esoteric groups. I won't call it out. But some will argue that Margaret Sanger was part of esoteric groups. And that it was by design of elitists to get rid of our children, but also to get rid of the Black population. Keep listening, then we're going to drop the link.
In the world, to be a human being, practically, delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born.
In 1916, Sanger opened the country's first birth control clinic. As a member of the American Eugenics Society, she advocated improving the genetic composition of humans through controlled reproduction of different races and classes. She often wrote about the issue in the journal she founded, called the Birth Control Review. In 1919, writing,
I personally believe in the sterilization of the feeble-minded, the insane, and the syphilitic. The most urgent problem today is how to limit and discourage the over-fertility of the mentally and physically defective.
Many point to a 1923 New York Times interview as proof of Sanger's racist.
And so there are some that say race when in actuality, there's no such thing as race. We all use it interchangeably. But there's no such thing as race, because race more or less says that when you look at the genetic composition of a person, that you have a superior species of the human genome, and then you have a species of the human genome that's inferior to the one to the top. But when you look at things through the lens of science, all human beings are basically the same. The genetic variation is so minute that you can't come up with a concept called race. If you look at race from the point to talk about ethnos as they all begin to race, then that can be plausible or argued. But to say that a human being or more or less other human beings are superior in genetics, superior in intelligence, and also superior in skin color or texture, then that's foolish, because all human beings can trace their genetic pool back to Africa. Some say that the myth of Eve have been debunked, but let's say if it have been debunked. There's more genetic variation in Africa than there is anywhere else in the planet. So it will more or less assert and assume that the majority of human beings came near the Tigris and Euphrates River, near Iraq, and also near Ethiopia. I'm going to do a show on that at some point. But I want you guys to think about this racist Margaret Sanger and what are the implications to men, as I said earlier, and women that lost their babies for whatever reason. So keep listening, because some say that the Black community is dead. Some say that the American fabric and the American community is dead because there are too many agitators that are more or less trying to destroy the last vestige of hope that was necessary for fulfilling what our ancestors dreamed of.
Motives, in which she referred to people as weeds, saying,
it means the release and cultivation of the better racial elements in our society and the gradual suppression, elimination, and eventual extirpation of defective stocks, those human weeds which threaten the blooming of the finest flowers of American civilization.
So basically she referred to people of African descent as human weeds, meaning that they are sucking out the life from the greater American fabric. And so our people don't understand, and whether you're Black or white or whatever, it's all evil, it's all pernicious. I would say only under the conditions of the G word, and then some would say that even that. But I'm not here to argue that. People that use deletions for birth control, I got a problem with it. Some of you men, once again, have lost your sons and your daughters because you didn't have a say-so in your seed. Some women deleted their babies, and then they're struggling with the pain of anniversaries because their baby should have been a certain age, but now that baby is gone. So Think about it. Take mental notes. Going to drop the link at some point. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to have a live panel, live conversation, and we're going to talk about the negative impact of deletions on the minds, body, soul of human beings, because deletions carry mental health scars. So keep listening.
Hayden Ludwig, an investigative researcher, has extensively studied Sanger's life and writings.
She talked about the need for race betterment through controlling these weeds, basically undesirable people.
In 1939, after opening another clinic in Harlem, the birth control activist launched the Negro Project, an initiative supported by Black leaders, such as civil rights activist W.E.B. Du Bois. Critics...
And see, what they did, guys, they used our Black intelligentsia, they used preachers to push their nefarious agenda. You see it all the time now, even in politics, where they use certain key figureheads to infiltrate the Black community and to push this wicked agenda as it relates to the sterilization and the extinction through eugenics of the Black population or those of African descent. And so it's wicked. When you look at Margaret Sanger, some of the works that she's done, you will find that Margaret Sanger was in the occult. And we'll talk about that at some point. But it's very wicked. It's evil, to say the least. And many times, certain groups and certain political factions use our people as guinea pigs to get their agenda accomplished. And that's why we need to have these conversations and come up with more solid solutions and more or less come up and not be more or less influenced by some of these liberal ideologies. Keep listening.
Claim the program used the pretense of better health and family planning for poor Blacks in the South as an attempt to limit the Black race. Ludwig says some on the left grapple with Sanger's past and how to interpret her legacy.
They know when she writes about human weeds, they know that it's repulsive. They know it's disgusting. The left will never abandon Margaret Sanger, because if they do, she's the foundation of so many of their views.
Sanger once shared her vision for a preferred race at a women's branch of the Ku Klux Klan, writing in her autobiography,
"Always, to me, any aroused group was a good group."
Despite those views, liberals praise Sanger's work while ignoring her history.
I admire Margaret Sanger enormously.
And that's what happens many times, guys. They are more or less some of the liberal groups. That's why you have so many brothers that are voting for conservative values, not because they agree with the Republican Party, but Black men and men in general, Black men and white men, all men tend to be more conservative and more traditional because that's beneficial for us. But you got this liberal politician and this Hillary Clinton that applauds Margaret Sanger, the same woman that said that Black men are super predators. And see, when I see this stuff, guys, and see the foolishness of our people as they vote for policies and also parties that don't benefit the Black collective, then when people begin to bellow and shout and talk about the Black community, then I can't take you serious. When you talk about the American community, white or Black, I can't take you serious when you are complicit in the destruction of our boys and our girls. Since the 70s, I believe so many millions of children have been deleted. Imagine if those children would have lived today, how much more powerful the community would have been. But sadly, those children will never come. Those children will rise again in the resurrection. But sadly, we're in a state now where populations are dropping. Because the populations are dropping, the Social Security system, some will argue, is about to become bankrupt. So were these laws passed for, like someone once said in the chat, for the courts to be favored? Was it passed for, how can I say it, to add money to the greater collective? That's a discussion we need to think about. So once again, guys, get the likes up. If you're not, share it, share the content and donate to the channel. And we're going to have a discussion in a few minutes.
Her courage, her tenacity, her vision. I am really in awe of her.
Ryan Baumberger, founder of the Radiance Foundation, says abortion proponents are working to clean up Sanger's past and what she stood for.
They have to reinvent her every time they talk about her in order to justify their celebration of her.
Former Planned Parenthood Director Abby Johnson says those inside the abortion industry are trained to overlook Sanger's racist views.
They give you an answer like, well, I mean, yes, Margaret Sanger was a racist, but everybody was a racist back then. You accept it because she is your hero.
But this is the same woman, or, you know, they accept Margaret Sanger's racism, but yet you got an issue with Donald Trump, but Donald Trump never killed or was part of a deletion of black children or black white children or any child. But you'll let this woman get a pat on the wrist because she's part of the liberal machine. And that's a problem because we don't think critically as a group of people. Many of us don't. Some do, but many don't. And that's why people of this ilk and faction can get away. So many statues have been torn down because the statues had a racist past. But Margaret Sanger get a pass. Make it make sense.
And she has to be your hero. You cannot question Planned Parenthood.
In 1997, Stephen Mosher of the Population Research Institute wrote about the push to repackage Margaret Sanger in the Wall Street Journal.
The reason I call it the repackaging of Margaret Sanger is because after the Nazi regime destroyed the legitimacy of eugenics forever, they then went back and said, oh, she was just an early feminist. She was just an early supporter of family planning. No, she wasn't. No, she was a supporter of giving IQ tests to people. She was in favor of using those IQ tests to determine who should be sterilized and who should have children.
In a response titled The Demonization of Margaret Sanger, Alexander Sanger, her grandson and president of Planned Parenthood at the time, called Mosher's editorial unfair. In the same piece, Esther Katz, director of...
And they still use excerpts from Margaret Sanger to more or less justify genetic inferiority. You see it with quarterbacks. You see it with sometimes with darker skinned people. You see it with athleticism. You know, there was a time they said that the quarterback is a thinking man's position, and black people are inferior when it comes down to that. And some of you guys have gotten, I've gotten it. They say, oh, you're very articulate. What is that supposed to mean? Like there's some type of mental defect because your hue is dark. That's like saying Miles Davis, Vijay Singh, and many other darker skinned people are inferior because of the color of their skin. So that doesn't make any sense. And so you guys see it and I see it, that this assuaging of Margaret Sanger has caused many people to feel isolated and feel less than. But we know it's all part of social politics and also racial propaganda.
NYU's Margaret Sanger Papers Project claimed evidence revealing Sanger did not rationalize her support for birth control on racist grounds, that she never advocated genocidal policies aimed at racial,
Shout out to Top Gun for the $5 super sticker. He said that she's not racist. She marched at Selma. You may proceed, man. You're a funny dude, man. You're funny. All right. Appreciate it, brother.
Or religious groups, and that she, in fact, believed access to birth control would benefit, not eliminate minority populations. Dr. Katz turned down our request for an interview, although in this article, the editor as public authority interpreting Margaret Sanger, she wrote, by our current highly sensitized standards, some of her attitudes and statements can be construed as racist, elitist, ethnocentric, and not politically correct. In 1942, Margaret Sanger's American Birth Control League became Planned Parenthood, which has moved to fulfill its founders' goals, helped greatly by the Supreme Court decision in Roe versus Wade.
Under the veil of secrecy and deception, 60+ million babies have not been born because they were aborted legally since '73. 1/3 of that population belong to the African American community.
A frightening and telling number given Blacks make up only 13% of the U.S. population. Dan Gaynor of the Media Research Center says that Sanger's true mission remains alive and well throughout today's abortion industry.
Look at the maps. See where the abortion facilities are. They are near places where people are marginalized, people are poor, people are minority. And That's their target market.
Generation after generation,
We have built a better world for our daughters.
Because of allies in the media and academia, Gaynor also points out how speech from conservatives and others about Sanger's past, Planned Parenthood practices, and abortion is often classified as hate speech.
There is nothing as close to it.
So remember, guys, anytime you say anything relating to the truth, it's hate speech. When you hold women accountable, it's hate speech. When you talk about certain populations, certain groups, it's hate speech. Having an opinion is hate speech. And so they can say what they want to say, but when it comes down to men and righteous women, they have a powerful voice saying what they want to say, then it's a problem. And that's why we need to have these conversations, because you look at it succinctly, there are people behind the scene that are working to destroy the mental fabric and the social fabric of our communities. And that's not good for children, and it's not good for the long-term sustainability of a faltering and broken system in the Black and the American community.
The sacrament in the media as abortion. It is a holy writ that abortion is protected. And anybody who comes out against it, any organization, any business, anybody, the media swarm.
So does social media.
Facebook's new oversight board, and this is really concerning, has 4 co-chairs. I mean, they're going to be the appeals board for content. Well, one of the 4 oversight board is on the board of an pro-abortion group. There's no pro-lifers. They're not there.
The problem also exists on many college campuses.
I remember at Harvard, they laughed when I was talking about the history of eugenics. And they said, that doesn't matter. Planned Parenthood is not like it was during Margaret Sanger's days.
Those who oppose her views say not true and are committed to exposing her past for future generations. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Well, keep in mind, this is a serious matter. You're trying to revise history to suit a political agenda and suit a political argument. The source of that story, curiously, is a group called NewsGuard, and what they...
All right, so guys, see it for what it is, but let's have a conversation, because some of you have been impacted by deletion of children. Call in, men and women. Let's have a conversation, but mostly our men. How do you feel about this new decision with RoevsWade? How do you feel like it's going to impact the long-term sustainability of a faltering Black community? And what are the long-term implications of this overturning? Will cities like California, states like California, be sanctuary cities for people to go and to take care of these deletions? So the link has been dropped. Let's have a conversation. What's your take on RoevsWade? And how has it directly impacted you in a negative way? Because some do not agree with it, and some are frustrated with it. And these conversations are important because some of you that are listening have been victims of not having any input regarding your children. So the link has been dropped. In the meantime, I'll continue the conversation, continue to have a monologue. But I would love to hear your points of view and to hear you guys call in, men and women, about the Roe v. Wade decision. As so many are frustrated and many are becoming worried about what could happen, as many are arguing about the situation and saying that it's not justified. Here's another quote from Planned Parenthood, guys. Until someone come on the link and have a conversation. Hold tight. All right. Hold tight. Give me 1 minute. All right. So I'm going to share the screen. And in the meantime, you guys are beginning to see it for yourselves. Margaret Sanger was not a savory woman. She was a rapist, a racist. And that's the issue for so many people. So once again, guys, fair use. Let's have a conversation about Margaret Sanger and her negative behavior towards the ADOS community. So fair use, guys, fair use. The link has been dropped. Let's have a conversation. What are the long-term implications of Margaret Sanger and RoevsWade, Roe versus Wade? What are the long-term implications? So let's listen.
Check out this backpack I made for Marco.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Hi, I'm Ophelia Jacobson with Campus Reform. We've seen so many talks about race and racism in recent weeks, and we're here today at the University of Florida to talk with students about one example they may not know about, Planned Parenthood. How will students react when they find out about Planned Parenthood's racist founder? Let's find out. So over the last few weeks in this country, we've seen a movement to remove racist historical figures, institutions, and statues. Do you agree with?
And that's my point. We remove racist people with a history and statues as it relates to conservatism. I'm not political, I'm apolitical, but I am pro-policies. I don't care for either political group per se, but I do tend to align more with policies that are beneficial for boys, men, and our families, and also the protection of good, righteous women. But for some reason, Margaret Sanger gets a pass, guys. And you guys begin to see it all too often, all so often. So I want you guys to think about the link has been dropped. Let's have a conversation.
With this movement, should we be doing that? Yeah, I completely agree with removing Confederate statues and any racist landmarks if they have a negative history.
America has like a really toxic past, and we shouldn't be like memorializing that.
I think it's good. I think as a country we need to progress past like idolizing racist figures.
Okay, so I want to give you a quote that was said by the founder of a really prominent institution in this country. I'm going to read you a quote and get your reaction, okay? We do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. This individual also once spoke at a KKK meeting. How do you feel about this quote?
I think there's no question how I should feel about the quote.
I think that's bad.
That's just so obviously wrong.
I think that he shouldn't be a founder of any institution.
I can't believe someone said that.
He should be held accountable, or she should be held accountable for what they said.
Stop being racist.
And you notice they automatically assumed that it was a he. You notice they automatically assumed that it was a he.
Racist. To exterminate any human being is not okay. He should probably be exposed for that.
It's racist.
The worst part is there's several people who are currently in power that I can guess made that quote.
Who do you think made that quote?
Of course, my first thought goes to Trump.
Why do you think Trump is racist?
If literally anyone looks up anything about Trump and things that he said, I think it's a safe conclusion to draw.
Do you have any direct quotes about that? Like any direct quotes that he said?
I don't know any quotes off the top of my head, honestly.
So what about the organization? What should be done with the organization?
I think there should be like maybe an investigation.
I don't think that the entire organization, everyone associated with it, can be, in a sense, canceled. But I definitely think that there should be actions taken to mitigate the way that their founder has acted.
Should we even be funding this organization if that's what the founder said?
And they should definitely like look into what the organization is promoting and whatnot.
Just them excusing something like that would be racist.
People as individuals need to like really decide for themselves if they want to support it or not. But I know I definitely wouldn't if the leader said that.
So what if I were to tell you that this quote was actually said by Margaret Sanger, who is the founder of Planned Parenthood?
Dang. All right.
Did you know about that?
No, I did not. But yeah, they should do something about that.
It makes me feel nauseous.
I'm actually surprised. Well, I mean, Planned Parenthood is usually a very liberal and inclusive organization.
I kind of actually knew that Planned Parenthood was founded in kind of in a selective breeding kind of thing. There's definitely problems within that, because I know black babies are aborted at a way higher rate than white babies.
Right. Listen to what this young white man said. He said that babies of black origin or African origin or ADOS origin are deleted at a higher rate than any other race or group of people. But we don't see the correlation behind liberal politics and how it benefits our people. We just go vote because that's what our grandfather did. That's what grandma did. We go vote because we say, oh, well, I'm going to vote because that's good. That's what, I've been told to vote for. But you don't study the policies. You don't read the policies. You don't understand the policies. And you continue to become a victim of the ignorance because you won't do the work. And that's a problem, guys. That is a problem when you don't study the importance of how these policies are not benefiting the community. People always say, who's protecting our women? They got, shout out to my man Top Gun. I got a link from him. And at some point they were talking about protect black women. But how can you protect black women if you're deleting the boys and the girls? And it's always protect our women at any cost. But how about protecting these black boys? How about protecting all boys? How about protecting the welfare of all men? Because the warrior class is the class that gives you the protection that you need. But if you think you want to get protection for free without protecting the warrior class, it ain't going to happen. Keep listening.
If I were a supporter or not a supporter, what she said wouldn't really change it. Because I'm sure that there's many people under that founder that care about Black lives.
Like, I agree with what Planned Parenthood is doing, but I definitely don't think someone like that should be a leader.
Well, I actually do stand with Planned Parenthood. The abortion rate for Black women is 5 times higher than white women. Can an organization that says they support Black Lives Matter really say that?
And so that's what I'm saying, guys. Hypocritical propagation. Hypocritical propagation. The deletion rate is 5 times the rate for our children, but yet we continue, or some or many continue to support these liberal talking points and these liberal groups. Yosef, can you do me a favor, brother? Just let me show me your face in the background. I bring you up, sir. Show me your face in the background, Yosef, and I bring you up, brother. Okay. Can you hear me, Yosef? All right, hold tight. Just show me your face in the background. Okay, cool. All right. But once again, guys, liberal talking points. We're so hoodwinked and brainwashed into liberal dogmas that we continue to fall for a hook, line, and sinker. We continue to fall for it, and it's going to be a problem of epic proportion long term.
Their founder, she said that their goal is to exterminate the Negro population. I'm actually going to cut you off right now. I want this interview done.
It shouldn't really matter like who has abortions more. I think abortions should be available to everyone. Someone else should step up to the plate who's more accepting and who resembles what Planned Parenthood says they stand for, which is lives.
When you say that Planned Parenthood stands for lives, what do you mean by that?
Like they help women make their own decisions. I've had a good experience with them, and they like to help others.
As long as that the organization itself isn't being racist, then we can't really go after the organization itself for it.
I still definitely support Planned Parenthood.
I do think Planned Parenthood is important and needs to continue on.
And what you guys are seeing is selective outrage, which is typical of many liberal groups. Selective outrage. They pick and choose when they want to be outraged. All right. So, Yusef Benjamin, how you doing, brother? How you doing, sir? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Yusef? Unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. There. All right. Shout out to my man R. Bean for that $5 super sticker. Thank you, sir. Thank you, R. Bean. I appreciate it. Brother or sister. I don't know if it's a man or woman. But how would you like to add to the conversation, man, about this RoevsWade decision? What are the implications for the Black community? What are the implications for heterosexual men in America, white and Black? And how do we move forward? What are the implications that can occur, and why do you think they overturned it? That's a loaded question. Why did they overturn it? What are the implications for the Black community and all communities? And this is a win for boys and men.
The implications. Well, I think we're seeing that right now, and it's just the first day.
Right.
So it's like, I mean, I'm not surprised at people's reactions. Actually, I'm starting to see. I think we all get a glimpse into how people really feel about human life.
Right.
And even people that I thought I knew, I just observe. I haven't said anything on any social media. I just look and I observe and see the people that I thought who love children so much. You know, they love life and they respect life. And to see their outrage on the situation is actually taking me by surprise. People I thought I knew, people who portrayed a certain image of themselves as lovers of children, of lovers of life itself, is clearly not the case. So it's really bringing out, I think it's bringing out a lot of the shadow in a lot of people, and the darkness that's within them is coming forth. And you're seeing, at least I'm seeing, the extremes of people, those who actually do believe in the sanctity of life and those who do not. Actually, I had wrote down my thoughts because I just looked at both sides of the equation. So it's not that long. It's probably maybe like a minute. But I think it summarizes exactly what I have observed from both sides, if you're talking about it from a political perspective. And I said I think it's funny that it's called double homicide if a man deletes both mother and unborn child in the womb, called murder. But if that same woman does the exact same thing to her unborn child, it's not really a baby. It's not a baby. It's just a clump of cells, and they call it abortion. So it's a euphemism, right?
It's a euphemism, right?
And I think it's funny how it's wrong when a man does it, but when a woman does it to herself, it's legalized.
Right. Selective outrage, man. And
I think
go ahead.
I think it's not that much more love. I know it's kind of it's like a double-sided, like both minds from different perspectives, right? You got one side who's definitely for the guns, and the other side is for abortion. And I said, to finish it off, I said I think it's funny how the same people crying about the loss of innocent lives in Texas, which was just recent.
Yes, sir.
They say get the guns off the streets, and they say it and they pump their fists, and they're really passionate about all this, right? But it's at the same time they're crying for their right to take the lives of their own innocent children. So these are the people who are for abortion, but who are obviously against assault rifle bans. And I also said, I think it's funny how we point to the evil nature of other people's moral depravity, yet fail to see our own.
Yes, right. I agree with that, and that's part of a condition that many have that are suffering from delusional disorder. And as I said earlier, it's something called ego.
Syntonia.
Yeah, ego syntonia. That basically means that they feel like what they are feeling is normal. People that have delusional disorders think they are supposed to be delusional. But people that are dealing with mental health distress, they have what's called a dystonic ego, meaning they don't like the way that they feel. And so delusional people, they feel like what they're feeling is normal. And that's why we got to have these conversations. Why is it that when it comes down to women like Margaret Sanger, she's not demonized at the same rate of the last president? Why is it that she's not demonized, but the last president, even though he never passed policies for baby deletion, they call him a racist? What's your take on that?
I think to justify their own evil intent, to justify their own whatever feelings of guilt or shame that they may have, I think that's why they do it, right? It's kind of like you're gaslighting someone for, I think it's similar to how someone say, oh, this woman who got raped, she asked for it, right? She shouldn't have been there. She shouldn't have drank that drink. She shouldn't have had this shot. She shouldn't have done this done X, Y, Z. So it's a form of gaslighting to justify the actions of someone else's behavior. And that's how they justify their own. They justify it in that way. And that's just human nature.
And you begin to see, brother, yourself, that the cognitive dissonance is so profound.
I don't know if it's even that. I think I give people the benefit of the doubt. They know what they're doing. At some point, there's no longer cognitive dissonance. At some point, when you're younger, when you're naive, sure, but at a certain point, you got some people who have this cognitive dissonance for a decade, 2 decades, and they still hold the same supposed dissonance. Like they just blissfully unaware.
Right.
I believe they are. I believe they are aware. I believe they're more aware than we give them credit for. We want to believe. The way we justify it is their cognitive dissonance. But in their mind, I'm thinking, well, I just want the right to do what I want to do, which may include myself or other women having the right legally to delete babies out the womb, right? And they know this. I don't even think it's a dissonance thing. I think it's just something they choose to do. So I'm giving them more more credit than I think they're just playing chess. I think they're playing chess. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, wow, that's news to me. No, I don't think so. I don't think it's news.
I think I can see your point. I think some of it is cognitive dissonance, but I do agree with you that many times more than less, they do know what they're doing. Some I think there's a percentage because the cognitive dissonance is due to indoctrination. Many times, people that are liberally indoctrinated, they think what they're doing is right. Do you see my point?
Yeah.
So if that's how you've been trained to think, then you think that's right. When you think about people that destroy people of some of these radical groups, like the Taliban, they think that what they're doing is right. You can show them that it's wrong and show them evidence, but they say, no, you're crazy. They can't hear what you're saying, and so some are sad. And it's baffling that people say that it's their body. But how about the baby? The baby doesn't have any say so. What's your take on that, Brother Yusef?
Right. It's their body, their choice, but it's not the baby's body. It's not the baby's choice. So how is it their choice? You see, if I cut off my own right hand, that's my choice. It's not affecting the hand of another entity. Mm-hmm. If I cut off my hand, my mother isn't going to feel it. Emotionally, sure, I'm sure she would. But her hand is not being cut off in the process of my hand being cut off. So I don't see how it doesn't even make any logical sense how it's your choice to get rid of life that benefits you for in like something like 95% in cases selfish reasons. I just didn't want it. I made a mistake, or this wasn't supposed to happen, or I have career ambitions, or whatever the case. Not taking responsibility for engaging in the sexual act. While using the 5% or 3% statistic of rape and saying, well, that's the reason why. But all the women that I've ever met who ever had abortions, they it was always because it was just convenient. It was their form of birth control, yet they call it their choice. But yet the baby didn't have a choice in being prematurely deleted from existence. They didn't have a chance to be the next Elon Musk, to be the next Albert Einstein, to be the next Martin Luther King, to be the next Malcolm X, especially when you're talking about the Black population, which is us, in which we have been severely stunted because our numbers somehow, even though we've been here for as long as the Caucasian race, somehow the Mexican population is overtaken. And because I think they're smarter. They have big families. I've been around them. They don't do the whole abortion thing that Black people do, but that's because
they're Catholics. They're Catholics too.
So that helps. But then, of course, you have that whole situation, that whole argument where Catholics aren't really. I think that's interesting. I think they're more rooted in spirituality and God's way of thinking than a lot of Black Baptists, a lot of Black preachers who support the liberal ideology. But yet then they demonize Catholicism and say, well, that's not the true Christianity. But these same people support the liberal policies that infiltrate the Black church and causes Black women and men to seek abortion. So it's like that's just the weirdest thing. So I just observe. I used to feel very strongly about it one way or the other, and I just stopped. I don't want to say I stopped caring, but I had to distance myself from it, especially from what's going on now. It's going to get a lot worse. Mm-hmm. People feeling about this way, and what they really should be concerned about is not going homeless in the next couple of months, or
right. I totally agree.
I mean, you're worrying about whether or not you have the right to kill somebody, or abort.
Delete. No, say delete for the algorithm. Don't say that. Okay. The word. Just say delete.
They don't like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm gonna show you guys something, man. I did a show with a guy, Brother Horn. He's a therapist, and And you won't believe it, Brother Youssef. They demonetized that show because they said that it wasn't appropriate. And this YouTube thing is funny. It's funny at times, man, because you would think that it's almost like now you can't even say this basic words. You can't say a basic word without somebody, getting triggered by it. So I'm gonna show you guys real quick. Hold tight. Let me show it to you. Hold tight. And you guys can see that video didn't get monetized. And so when you do pro-male content, when you do content that talks about empowering men, a lot of times it don't get the same level of credibility. You see that? You guys see it. And this video has been confirmed by ManView that the review is not suitable for most advertising. The video was found to contain whatever. But anyway, it remains fully playable and eligible to earn subscriptions. And that's what happens. Content that many times talk about issues. Like, that was a very good show, but because I used certain words, or the therapist used certain words, they said it was inappropriate. So how can it be inappropriate to talk about men going through trauma? It doesn't make any sense. The algorithm, but it does make sense because we know it's part of the machine. And I'm not going to keep talking about it. You know what time it is. I know what time it is. So that's all that matters. Do you know any men they have been victims of not having the right to have a say-so in the deletion of their children? And if so, you talk about it. Guys that are listening, the link has been dropped. Please come in. What's your take on the Roe versus Wade decision? And have you been a victim of not having say-so in the life of your child? That's caused a lot of mental distress for men. It's caused distress for the women that actually were part of it. But talk about it, Brother Youssef, because a lot of men are suffering because of that.
So I know one story in particular. It was a high school childhood friend that I grew up with. And he was a military vet and everything. He went maybe 5-6 years after the Twin Towers fell, to fight overseas. So this guy came back, wanted to start a family, got married. He was in love with this girl, infatuated with her. And I still remember her like it was yesterday. And for whatever reason, they fell out with each other. Things didn't work out for whatever reason. But in the process of them, I guess, breaking up, she ended up getting pregnant, his wife at the time. And he was trying to work things out with her after learning that she was pregnant. And he was being, the way he was telling to me. So, even though I understand that, we had some issues, like any relationship has issues. We had our arguments, our bickering. It was never any physical altercations. At least I've never known him to be that way. But he said, he tried his best to try to work things out, especially after finding out that she was pregnant with his child. So I think something like 2 or 3 months into her pregnancy, he told me that one day she just disappeared. She left the house. She wasn't seen or heard from for like 2 or 3 weeks. And he tried contacting his mother and all the people that he knew that was close to her. Couldn't get in contact with her. Now keep in mind, she's 2.5 months pregnant at this point. Mm-hmm. So then one day she shows back up to get her things. And he's questioning her, like, where have you been? I've been looking for you, I've been searching for you. I couldn't get in contact with you. And she was just quiet the entire time as she's packing her things. He's concerned about, her safety and all this other stuff. So, but he's relieved now that she's home. That's the way he's thinking. But then he said one day he looked, not one day, but at that moment, in the midst of him trying to figure out what was going on and why she decided to leave, or what's happening, why she grabbing her clothes, he looks and observes that what was at one time a pregnant belly was now a flat belly. So he told me that immediately he just freaked out.
Oh, wow.
Flipped out. He was not given any. She didn't even tell him. She did not hint to him that she was going to delete the child. She did not give any indication. He had no suspicion she would do something like that.
Right.
Completely left out of the loop. It was as if what he felt and how he felt about it didn't matter. He wanted to keep the child. She didn't. But there was never no discussion between two adults about the best course of action. She just refused to bring his child into the world out of spite, is what she told him.
Out of spite, right.
And it sent him, obviously they went into a divorce. It sent him to a deep depression.
Wow.
So much so that it lasted a decade. And I just found out a week ago that he finally got over it enough to be able to trust a woman to get married again. So he just got married last week. This was a decade ago. But I saw him go from this happy, cheerful guy to, laughing, joking, and his old jovial self to literally contemplating the S word. I don't even know if I can use that.
No. I don't. This say deletion.
Yeah. And he came close. I mean, he cut himself, putting gun, because remember, he's coming from the military. He done seen something. So all of this combined with that experience, it was just like game over for him. And I honestly didn't think he was going to make it through, but he did. He did. And I feel sorry for, even though he just got married and he started a new life, that haunted him for a long, long time. And I learned from his experience. Because a lot of us, we get these women pregnant young, and we don't understand how relationships work. We don't understand the laws of this country. We don't understand that we don't actually have rights, even though we took part in creating the child. We don't have any say so whatsoever in whether or not that woman can or cannot give birth to the child just because it's in the woman's body, but as if it didn't require our sperm to also create that child.
Right.
Completely removed from the process, and we are at the mercy of any woman in this country. It doesn't matter how good of a woman she is. I don't care if she's Mary Magdalene herself.
Right.
Every woman in this country that was born in this country have the right to decide, you know what, I just don't, we had a bad argument, or even our argument justifies me taking the life of an innocent child. Even though the woman may even want the child, it's because they may use that as a reason to get back at the guy that they don't like. It may have nothing to do with the fact he can provide or not. Oh yeah, he could be a good father. He could be a provider. I just don't like him. We had an argument. We had a fight about certain things. I feel like it didn't work out in that moment. So they make that snap decision. But we don't have the ability to step in and say anything about it. We have to plead and beg them to not do such a thing. So there's a lot of this. Oh well, my man was pushing me to get the deletion, but from my one experience, and I would say it was one experience, and I don't think a lot of men come out and speak about it, for one, because it's such a disempowering and emasculating experience that you had no choice in whether or not your child get to live or die. I have my peace, and I look at things objectively, and as a result, I'm a lot healthier, I'm a lot wealthier, I'm a lot peaceful than a lot of my friends that I grew up with, my male friends who I grew up with, because of the things that they went through dealing with the women in America, whether they were black or white.
Yeah, man, that's very disheartening, man, to hear that story from your friend, that he actually thought about deletion as a means to protect himself. And what I'm noticing, Brother Yusuf Benjamin, is that we live in a world, man, that's devoid of hearing. They don't want the truth. They'll say your truth is your truth and my truth is my truth. There's a lot of rampant mental illness, but some of it is rebellion. All of it is not mental illness. Some of it is they're rebels, like you said earlier. They know what they're doing. Yeah. And, it's unfortunate because when you have these kind of conversations, any conversation that's relating to male empowerment, then you start seeing the numbers drop. That's why I tell people, don't get caught up in the YouTube algorithm, man, because you'll be a slave to the numbers, and I can't be bought. I'll get off YouTube before I become a slave to the numbers. It's not that important for me. I'm a licensed therapist, and I do this because I want to see men, or allow men to have a voice. But the fact that a man can be on the hook for putting a seed in a woman, but that same man can't have a say-so in the delivery of his child. Her body, her choice, as relates to that baby being delivered. But how about his money, his choice, as relates to financial? But hey, we live in a very convoluted world, man. And I don't know what it's like up where you're from up north, but what are you seeing up north, man, with this decision? You know, are you seeing a lot of social unrest up north?
So in Detroit, I mean, I'm actually planning on going downtown Detroit tomorrow just to kind of relax after a pretty successful, profitable week for myself. So just a celebration for myself. So I don't know yet. It just happened today. You know, growing up, I saw a lot of abortion clinics everywhere. I mean, like as common as drugs.
Say deletion. You said this algorithm is crazy, man. Just say deletion. Yeah.
Damn, they don't even like the word that they use.
Right. It's
okay.
Stupid. It's stupid.
That's weird. I had to kind of flip the words. Okay, so growing up, I saw a lot of deletion clinics all over, and I didn't think nothing of it because I was a kid, and it's just like it's weird that you're a kid and you're seeing all of these deletion clinics all over the place as common as liquor stores in the communities I grew up in, which was pretty much the hood. I mean, you know, rough areas of Detroit. So I wouldn't be surprised by any reactions or any uprising that I see in downtown Detroit. But I will say that Detroit is unique in a liberal city in that they quell a lot of the aggression that goes on or that attempts to be started there, like riots and things like that. We've had pretty good police chiefs that step in. Those police chiefs, they were not liberals at all. I find out that they're conservative police chiefs. They're not having it. So I don't anticipate any sort of real uprising, except for maybe some grievances, maybe I've seen some protests, but nothing like riots or nothing like the stuff that I've seen on YouTube in other different cities like Washington or Minnesota or all these other, or New York, for example, especially New York.
Right.
So it's not quite as extreme as those areas, but that doesn't mean that people here don't feel it, because I grew up in it. This is a largely a liberal. Black people have largely voted on the liberal side of things here in the city. So I'm sure they feel a lot of strong feelings about it, but you probably won't see any like anything on the news regarding, oh, this person attacked this person attacked, they're not having that down here and up here in Detroit.
Yeah, man, and it's crazy, man, because you said something that's powerful. You would think the more important things would be in play, like, you know, making sure, you know, you got lights. You got a lot of women there, man, that don't even have, you know, they don't know how to pay the rent, but you're concerned about that. Is it safe to say, Brother Youssef, that our people are easily, well, I'm not gonna say our people because Black people are not monolithic, or I don't even like the word Black people. People of the African diaspora. Americans of the African diaspora. That's a term I created called Americans of the African diaspora. But is it safe to say that Americans of the African diaspora are easy persuaded, but also dissuaded when it comes down to critical thinking?
Oh, yeah. And I can tell you where it stems from. It stems from public schools. It stems from the way we were taught what to think and not how to think. We're not given, no, man, they just don't care. I can tell you, I didn't learn much in public schools. I learned everything. My critical thinking skills came from my father, who just so happened to be there in the home, who just so happened to be one of the few Black fathers, biological fathers, who was there to raise me and teach me and introduce me to books and other forms of knowledge. So he gave me that luxury that public schools never did. I would literally come home from school, and then after coming home from school, get real school and education from my father in terms of critical thinking. So I think we are, I know that we are intentionally handicapped on, it seems like it was on purpose. Now that I look back on it, it has to be on purpose, because it's like, you know, if you don't know how to think or how to critically think, you're going to default to being easily persuaded, to smooth words, to flowery conversation, to, oh, well, if you don't really want the baby, or, oh, well, if you just try this or try that, or maybe just smoke a little weed, we're much more easily influenced in that way because of a lack of education. And we just and it's not their fault initially, but then once they see that it's that their lifestyle or the train of thought or lack of thought isn't beneficial for themselves or those lives around them who they're responsible for, then it is their responsibility to take it upon themselves to learn how to critically think. And I understand it's kind of like someone who doesn't know how to read when they become an adult, and then now you have to learn how to read. A lot of times people default to themselves. They default to not going that route because it's a lot easier, right? If it's something you didn't learn when you were younger, it's just easier not to do it. So it's easier not to learn how to critically think once you reach adulthood, and it's just easier to just fall into default mode. So that's what I've experienced in terms of people who are easily influenced, especially our people. It's just it's mind-boggling.
It is mind-boggling. I saw a post about a football player in my town. He said, how can you tell a woman what to do with her body, but at the same time, we tell men what to do with their money, but yet we don't give the baby a chance to choose, because that baby is not her body. That baby is inside her body with the insemination of a man. It doesn't make any sense. Chris Norwood make it make sense. And what are the implications of Roe versus Wade? Many don't understand, Chris Norwood and Brother Youssef, that most men are very conservative and traditional. We're not talking about policies. Politics, because a lot of times people say, oh, he's a Republican. I'm not a Republican.
No.
I'm a policy advocate. I don't care about the Democratic machine or the Republican machine, because many times they don't benefit the black man. But some of the policies by that party can be beneficial. What's your take on this conversation, Chris Norwood?
Your mic.
Unmute yourself, brother.
Yeah, my bad, man. Thanks for opening up the panel, man. Another great show.
Thank you,
another great guest, Youssef. I heard you on another show. Basically what's going on now is a situation of just accountability. And, rest in peace to Kevin Samuels. But what did he say? Accountability to women is like kryptonite.
Yes.
And so, and you touched on this earlier, culture, where basically it's, if there's accountability for men or that's fine. Men get held accountable for things that we did or didn't do. And, that's fine. But when the mirror is turned back to women, then all of a sudden it's a problem. And Youssef mentioned it earlier. He mentioned, I believe, on it, like looking at his timeline on social media, and the same things happen to me. And I know a lot of other men just pull up to social media, and you literally could just pull it up, sit back, and observe. Mm-hmm. And it'd be women that you might have thought, from other posts that they had, that they would have some different views, and all of these women, I'm so devastated, and oh, this is unfortunate, and what is the world coming to, and oh, I can't believe this, and I can't believe that. But there's so many different contraceptives. I heard up to 20.
Up to 32.
Okay, right, available. But yet, it's interesting because, they'll hit you with the, oh, well, my body, my choice, things of that nature. However, so they're pro choice. However, if a man wants to keep the child, these same women don't care anything about his choice, So
right.
Forget what you want. Forget what you want. I'll do what I want. So it's just really a case, what did Malcolm X say? Chickens coming home to roost. Mm-hmm. And so while they're out there protesting about this, and Youssef mentioned this earlier, there's a lot of things going on. You got supply chain demand going on, food shortages. It's so much going on. And you're focused on something that, even though at a federal level, if they want to travel, they still have that option available, but it's when things aren't set up, like we've talked about this before, but society is set up in a way where it doesn't allow women to fail. And that's still not good enough. Right. So, some accountability is going on. But I will say this, I noticed some articles, right? I noticed different companies came out, and I'm not going to mention the companies, but they came out and hurry up and threw their support and say, we will pay large corporations that all of us have, patronized. We're going to pay for, women, our employees to go to travel for these deletions and things of that nature. And then the WNBA, I saw across the screen that said, oh, this is a travesty. The same WNBA who actually has not turned a profit in any year that has been in existence. And I was having a conversation with some women on social media, and they were saying, "Oh, Brittany Griner, and it's wrongfully convicted, this and that, or and being detained." Real quick, a lesson in accountability. That's what happens when you meet the patriarch. And so I think what's going on with the federal government and Supreme Court, they're seeing things untwine, and there's some other things that's going to come down the pipeline. But with the whole Brittany Renner situation, you have the NBA subsidizes the WNBA, so that means they keep them in existence financially, right? Because any other company would have already gone under. So the NBA keeps them afloat. Then women say, well, it needs to be equal pay, but the product isn't the same. So the marketplace, the customers aren't going to buy that. And, women, unfortunately, they don't even support the WNBA. More men actually support the WNBA as far as watching and patronizing than women do. So they don't even support what they're claim that they're fighting these women should have. And Brittany Griner played in Russia before, right? She did that for supplemental income, things of that nature, even though she's already making six figures. And, that's not just a small piece of change. So you would think she would know the laws already. And then last thing on top of it, these same women that's saying she needs to come over, would they go over there and be in Russia and then allow Brittany to come back over here? They would probably say no. And then also, too, at the same time, a lot of stuff is going on with a lot of money coming from this country to Ukraine. So this country is actually indirectly fighting Russia. So why would Russia at that point do? So all I'm saying at the end of the day is chickens are coming home to roost. If men say, hey, I can't handle, or I'm not going to be able to be a father to this child, and we leave the child somewhere, we're going to jail. If we can't financially support a child and we're on child support, we can get locked up for not paying it. So again, it's only pro-choice when women are involved. And so they can be upset and grow in protest, but just hopefully that, they got enough signs made. They got some good shoes, because they're going to be out there protesting some more, because from what I heard, there's also the Supreme Court is seriously looking at actually making a ruling on contraceptives, and also making a ruling on, I don't know if I can use the G word, but alphabet mafia, same alphabet mafia marriages. And where that basically on the federal level, they're going to ban that. So it will be left up to the state for them to, so if, I guess if they still want to do it as a state, just like with the deletions, they have to go and travel. So one other thing I'm going to say, one last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I did see a post on Facebook earlier from someone I know, and they very far left, and it's a Black woman. And we've had discussions before, and, other women will jump in and they want to tag team, and then they'll start the sign language. But I saw a post she had today, and it was like, oh, this is a travesty and this and that. And this is really, it's trying to sterilize and reduce the population of Black people, this and that. And I thought about engaging, but it's interesting that people can have that view, particularly Black women, when statistically proven still today that they have the highest child deletion rates of any race of women. So don't want to act like you care about the population and having, and then in the same post they're talking about we need to make sure we protect the parents, have strong Black families.
Hold on, Chris. Let me give you a pause on that. I just said the same thing. I said clearly, Chris, that the warrior class can rise no higher than the nurturers that support that said warrior class. And that's why these conversations are so important, Chris, because we take away the warrior class, but then we turn around and say, protect all women or protect Black women. But who the hell is protecting these young boys? Who's protecting the men? And that's what they don't understand. It's almost like people expect men, all men, Black or white, to be this indentured servants to serve, a step stool. But the same women that say that they are Christians don't understand that the gospel talks about the woman was made for the man. And so it never makes any sense to me, Norwood and Youssef, because when you bring them the evidence, they become enraged due being deaf. I'm going to do a show Sunday called The Psychology of Deaf. Tomorrow, me and Angry Man going to do a show called The Psychology of Sign Language. And this show is actually, it's parenting the sign language. But go ahead, brother. Excellent points. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut across you. Go ahead.
Oh, no doubt. I was just about there, but that's all I'm saying is that the hypocrisy is so blatant, it's so biased, and just the delusion is so high that people can get online, especially social media, pretend to be whoever they want to be, say all these things, no proof of anything, haven't made any significance. You have women worried about what do you bring to the table. We're men. We don't have to bring anything to the table because we're too busy bringing things to the world.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's when you build so much and you create so much that you have a segment, a large group of society, they feel so comfortable that now they feel like I can say and do whatever. The patriarch built everything. The patriarch still reigns, and the way everything is going, especially in this country, things to start moving in a better direction, to get things better back on track. There's going to be some things that's going to have to break. So it's going to have to be a situation where, because we have so many people that feel so comfortable to say and do whatever, whether it's disrespecting their family, disrespecting men who built everything that they see, because everything that we see, either a man or God has built for the most majority.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, listen, everything you're saying is 100%. It's not your truth. It's a fact. The world was built off the hands, the sweat, labor, blood, and tears of men. Black men many times did it for free under the tyrannical reign of Jim Crow racism. But we are in a time that's never been before in human history, where all men are in an epic struggle for righteousness and the right to be heard. And our boys are already suffering. Chris Norwood and Brother Youssef, the virgin rate now has been risen to almost 35 to 40%, I believe, from what I heard the last time. And, boys and men are suffering in silence. And see, when we have these conversations, Youssef and Chris, because so many of them have, they can't hear what you're saying because so many are victims of cognitive dissonance, they'll say, you hate women. Anytime you say and have a conversation that's counterintuitive to their feelings, you hate women and your mom is black. And as a logical thinking man, it doesn't make any sense. And that's why so many men are frustrated, because their grievances are never heard. And, we have a mental health crisis now. Brother Youssef talked about it, that when men go through their pain, then it's minimized, or they tell you to shut up or just deal with it. And many times, even in marriages, I talked about it, Chris, a lot of men are experiencing this. You got a lot of men that are married, Chris and Youssef, but they're alone, man. They don't get no cat. They're paying all the bills. They're dragging their knuckles, but they don't get no intimacy. She berates them, and they're struggling. And but people say, well, a man up, but why don't you damn woman up? Stop putting men through these oppressive tyrannies, and don't stop putting men through these oppressive systems. Let the men love you and protect you, and you honor and respect him. Because his love is respect. It ain't got nothing to do with no feelings. The man's love is respect. Men will say, I don't want love, I want respect. But many don't get it, Chris. And, the writing is on the wall, because you're predicting that if they can't get these deletions, then if they do get the child, now they're stuck with it. Is that what that's what you're saying?
What I'm saying is just things are going to have to break, because people are so comfortable that they feel like they can say and do whatever. Right. So they can have children and still have hot girl summer. I will put it off on, their parents or the grandparents and just do whatever. Like, what should be important, or at least one of the most important things in our life, is not important. There was another post I ran across, and I made some comments, and literally the post said, it was women, majority black women was on the post. Don't put anything, don't let anything, what it say? Don't let a boy, and it was referring to men as boys, say, don't let these boys get in the way of, your career. And then another woman wrote right below that, yeah, your kids neither. So basically saying, don't let men or even your own children get in the way of basically you doing whatever you want, Right. And so it's just, like I said, things are going to have to break, because with the way things are going, you have possible recession going on. They're not talking about that. They're not protesting about things that matter, and all this money that was printed. And that's a whole nother story in this economics. They're so busy still being consumers and worried about and upset because now they're going to have to actually put some restraint on their hot girl summer. So, excuse us. How dare this happen? I saw it was on a protest. It was on TV. And what did she say? I don't know. It's some fools. They say so much you can't even keep up. But it was something just so egregious. It's the delusion is Amber Rose. She's got a song. She's trying to be a rapper now, and it's called something about I can be a HO whatever, something like that, whatever it's called, something. And I did see this tweet, and the lady said, she said, we know that you're a HO, and we just don't care. Stop putting it in our face. And so when you think about it, well, what's going on with that? What's happening in, Alphabet Mafia? You got that movie that came out recently. I guess it did a good numbers, the Buzz Lightyear, and there was a scene where there were two men kissing. That actually in like 14 or 15 countries actually banned that. So there still is the presence out there where people are coming together and saying enough is enough. When you have movements, when you have movements that's targeting children, and they say, well, children need to be in school. You need to have them there. They did this hour, this and that, this and that. But then parents who are, I'm gonna call it like it is, poor parents. I'm not talking about money, but poor mentally.
Yes, I agree. Right.
Instead of them raising their children, because there's a difference between maintaining something, whether it's a house, children, whatever. Maintaining something is like kind of keeping something at a certain level. So maintaining children will be putting the basics, putting a roof over their head, clothes, things of nature. Raising something, so whether you're raising your property or raising children, is you're elevating it. You're intentionally being purposeful in how you make sure that you improve and make them better. And unfortunately, a lot of poor mentality parents, they'll push their children off on the TV, iPad, school, grandparents, the parents, and then not even paying attention. You putting them in school and after school, and you don't even see what agenda that they're pushing onto them while they're at these institutions, because you're so busy trying to live a hot girl summer or be like a rapper, whatever the case may be, just a bunch of buffoonery and foolishness. So all I'm saying is, with everything going on, we got the recession, the food shortage. It's not official recession. That's GDP. That's a whole nother thing. But
right.
What's going on with these interest rates being raised is actually leading toward that high CPI, all of that. That's not being paid attention to. What's being paid attention to is, I can't go have a baby deletion. I can't go and this or that. Something that's like, to a certain extent, is just, there's a lot going on, but the other things aren't being paid attention to. So all I'm saying is, for things to start going into the right and a better direction, and when I say better direction, I mean back to the patriarchal hierarchy and structure of what built the world, not just this country, but the world. Things are going to have to break. So just like uncooperative women, hey, we know what we know. If they don't want to do and get on the program and understand things or whatever the case may be, they want to put themselves on an island, just let them be. Just let it break.
Right. Sometimes you have to let it break. Sometimes you have to burn the city and build it back again. And I agree with you 1,000%. Shout out to my man, MC Recovery and Wellness. He said, I was in UCLA and Charles Drew University Focus Study Group 5 years ago, talking about the pros and the cons of male contraceptive for men. The pill is coming. What's your take, Brother Yusef, and then I'm knowing Will, about this so-called male contraception pill?
I'm not taking it. I just know that.
Right.
I know what birth control does to women hormonally. How they can be completely different human beings based on a single little pill that they take, something like once or twice a month. So if I see observably what it does to them, why would I then volunteer to take that on for myself? I think the best solution is to just simply exercise sexual discipline, which is what I do. And as a result, I'm becoming fairly successful in what I do. And I think if more men focus on that instead of looking for ways to have sex more often, instead of exercising sexual discipline, they'll get a lot further in life. They'll have a lot more peace about themselves, continence, and no stress. But a lot of them don't. They want to have their hot boy summers like the girls want to have their hot girl summers, and they look at every excuse in the book to get it. So I think a lot of men are actually for it. But then there's also a segment of men like myself, and like those of us on the panel, and I'm sure most of the guys listening to this right now, who aren't for it. We won't stand for it.
Right. I'm not a fan of it because you don't know the long-term effects of it. You don't know if it's going to turn.
I don't want to be that experiment. Who wants to be that guinea pig? I mean, of course, there are going to be some guinea pigs. We're going to find out 10 years, 20 years down the line. Oh, it made me sterile. Oh, this did this to me. Oh, well, that's what you signed up for. You wanted to do what you wanted to do. You wanted to basically self-sterilize yourself without sterilizing yourself under the knife. And this is the result. You become permanently sterilized, or your testosterone drops. Now you're sad and depressed. You don't even know it. And because of this pill you're taking. So the effect that it has on women hormonally, how it throws their estrogen levels out of whack. My assumption, just based on basic observation, is that it's going to have a similar effect on men in terms of their testosterone production and their drive and their willingness to actually get things done outside of trying to have sex with all these women because they don't want to have kids with these women. So I don't know. That's my take on it.
Let me ask you a question, Noah, and we're going to sign off in a minute. I got to go to a wedding in the morning. But, Brother Yusef talked about men that have suffered mentally for not having a say-so and bringing that challenge to fruition. What's your take on the brothers that you've experienced through conversation or through anecdotal evidence through the lens of visual inquiry? And then also, Chris, what's your take on the male contraceptive pill? Is it viable? Or do you think it's part of a greater global agenda? You're muted, brother. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, Chris.
My bad about that. I was going to say, before I answer that, it was one thing I was going to mention. I did see where former President, I guess we can say his name, right? Former President Trump did actually he took credit for the end of Roe versus Wade. He said after he helped to get the 3 Supreme Court justice picks that he voted in, and we also noticed how he was voted out, and through everything that was going on with him and during his presidency, he still did represent. It was a patriarchal mentality with how he ran the country. And so I think there was obviously a lot of pushback. Oh, and that's what one of the women said who was protesting the decision today. She said, yes, we need to go and mobilize and vote because we are the majority and we are the majority. And so that's the mentality is, they don't really think long term about things and the effects. They just think of short term, and they'll think of terms that's very basic, such as, well, we're the majority, so we'll just outvote this person or outvote that person or override men and things of that nature. So I'm glad that the hammer's being dropped. And but back to what the 2 questions that you asked. One, as far as the male contraceptive pill, there was a recent conference in San Diego. It was in the spring, so it was actually March 20th through the 24th, and it was ACS, which is the American Chemical Society. And so they were actually introducing the studies and their results from the studies that they've done for this male contraceptive pill. And what it does is they've been testing on mice because, we know mice and rabbits are used because a lot of their genes or genomes is very similar to humans. And so a lot of times what happens and the effects on them is like symmetrical with humans. And so what that pill does is it blocks vitamin A receptors, which prevents pregnancy. And it was saying it's non-hormonal. So my thoughts on it, I agree with Yusef. I do think that, when there's things induced into the body, you don't necessarily know what the effects be, especially if something that's new. But there are going to be groups of people, and particularly probably men, that go out and take it. But I think that it does take away, men actually practicing and having self-discipline. So meaning, maybe only talking to or only getting with certain type of women that fit a certain mold. being sexually disciplined. And, I think it can make men get lackadaisical, but hey, if they want to use it, that's their business. I don't have a problem with it. Would I use it or something like that? I don't know. Probably not, because, I'm just not really into putting things in my body that's, manufactured medicines. I try to avoid medicines and things of that nature as best as possible. I'm more vegetables, fruit, water, working out. And then the last question that you asked about the what happens, it's this can be devastating. But unfortunately, society and women, when they make the decisions to delete a child and they override a man wanting to keep the child, society and women don't care. And so what happens when you continuously do that, you do have men who get to a point where they're depressed and they feel hopeless and they're upset. And, some men do certain things that, can lead to violence, and other men just actually become better men and more productive in society because they take that hurt and that anger and that pain. And that's why we become great a lot of times, because if we can channel us being, because people with men, there's always a burden of proof and a burden of performance. And so all women saying, trying to compete and want to be men, I'm going to tell you this. Women, you don't really want to be a man, because when it comes to, and I heard someone say this recently, when it comes to genuine loneliness, women don't experience that. Men do.
Don't. Right.
When women feel lonely, they can go and post a picture. They can go post a video on social media. They can go on your favorite dating website and get all these matches and didn't pay a thing. A man can pay for the services of that and get no matches or 1 or 2. A man can wear his best outfit, be clean, cologne, car clean, everything, walk in the club or VIP somewhere, wherever, and get completely ignored. You know what I'm saying? He's paying to have an experience to still get ignored and act like he doesn't exist. And that's unfortunately how women in society tend to be. But I'm glad we have spaces like this where we can come together, we can brainstorm, share ideas, mobilize to become better men and better man for this world. Because no matter what is being said and what propaganda is being put out there, we matter.
Right.
And the world knows already, and women know this already. They just want to have this thing of this victim mentality where, well, these women in 1920 or 1930 was treated or this and that and da-da-da and so and so, and they want to try to claim this victimhood, and then they want to use it against you, Kosher, you, Youssef, me, the men in the chat, other men around, and they want to use it against you to try to, it's a manipulation tactic, so you can think that you're worthless, and then they can still benefit off of your resources, your protection, your this and your that. But, we're smarter than that. We're not going to fall for it. And look, chicken's coming home to roost. The hammer is being slammed down. Hopefully they got their shoes, they got their signs, because they're going to need them. They're going to be out there for a while, because this is just one ball that dropped. So, and they just
he said when it was coming.
Yeah, it's here. It's here on many levels. On many levels, it's here. So, hey, you can ignore, what does that saying says? And I'm gonna leave on this. It says you can ignore the truth, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring that truth.
Right. I agree with that, Chris. You're 1,000% correct. You can ignore the truth, but you can't now ignore the consequences. And that's why I love your intellectual savvy. You part of the circle of fire.
He's smart.
You like me. I got that Leo swag. You got that SAG swag. So, we both in the circle of fire. We complement one another, man. And, I love your insight and wisdom as a young man. And what are you seeing in your native city, Chris, about this protest? I don't know where you're from. You don't have to say it if you don't feel comfortable. But what are you seeing in your native city about all this unrest and this level of consternation about this latest handing down of overturn of Roe v. Wade?
Yeah, salute to you, Youssef, man. I appreciate, like I said, this is at least, I think, the second time I've heard you on the panel, man. You're very insightful, and I like how you, put out your ideas and thoughts in the way you do it. And of course, salute to you as well, Kosher. But where I'm at, the news just dropped today. But even though it just officially dropped today, And I actually saw it on CNBC because, it's one of my favorite sites. I like getting, information on there, what's going on with the economy market. But I mean, it's you're seeing what's going on social media. You're seeing what's going on TV. You hear about the protesting. And I think it's just a similar reaction around the board. It just proves that. And then you have the men that are following, or more like males that are following these women, and they're out there with the signs and they're saying this and they're saying that. But the thing is, if everybody believed in practice in child deletions, or if everybody believed in practice in alphabet mafia activity, there's a great chance that we wouldn't even be on this panel talking. We wouldn't be here and existing.
Right.
If everybody tries to go that way, it's just going to be extinction. And so, but when you run into people that don't necessarily think long term, and of course, it's hard for people to think long term when they can never see past themselves, not the self of reflection looking in the mirror, but just the ego of who they think they are. And we know that who you think you are may not always match who you really are, because we're only in our authentic self when who we think we are, the ego, actually matches who we are. And so, it's going to happen. More and more people are going to act that way. But again, the consequences will be there. And it's just one in a long line of many. So again, we don't really even have to. All we need to do is continue to do what we're doing, become better men, keep producing like how we do, and understand that we're very valuable, because none of this would exist. For people that say that I'm so strong, I'm independent, don't need no man, this and that, everything that they're utilizing, the cars that they're driving, even the feminine products that they're using, everything around them, a man. But that's what happens when you deal with people who have the spirit of a traitor. That's what they do. Is they turn it. They're just Judas. They was Judas all along. It's just now they feel like they're so comfortable with jobs and degrees to hide behind, and these egos and these false whatever that they put out there. Now they feel, oh, I'm comfortable and embracing to come out and turn on the very people that actually help to even put you in a place where you don't have to worry about, for the most part, walking out and somebody knocking you over the head. I remember when I was in Miami beginning of this year, and I was out there and I thought for a minute, and I was like, there's a lot of women out here walking and they're dressed all kind of ways, and I'm thinking, and this was at night during the day, and I'm thinking they don't have any care in the world of somebody, really, for the most part, of somebody coming and doing anything. And that's because that's how well men have civilized the world, that women actually think the falseness that they don't need it. But we know that's not true.
Right. And I don't think people see men speak in raw form. I had a situation with a young man, I won't say it, but he said he didn't know if he wanted me to work with him because I was a masculine man. And I'm like, what the hell sense does that make? And so the world is so not used to masculine men. They're used to, unconscious simps and subconscious simps, but most unconscious simps, because they got the spirit of the hyena, Chris and Brother Yusef, that they sabotage their manhood many times to assuage a woman. People always say anytime men have any level of consternation with women, that is hate. And it's not hate. We wouldn't be having these conversations if we hated women. We love women. We just don't love the behaviors of many of them. And like you were saying, they tend to associate their pain to something they never went through. They didn't go through what their mothers and grandmothers went through, and great-great-grandmothers. They didn't go through suffrage. And the condition was totally different. The last couple of generations on up to Gen X have been blessed. They have been through nothing. But, but you continue to create this victim mentality that you're a sufferer. And women have more rights now. It could be argued that women have ever had in human history, but it's still never enough. And so we keep not building the boys up to a level of excellence, and we keep raising the girls. And I'm not against, raising our girls, but you can't keep kicking these little boys down and then cry and complain and say nobody don't protect us. And so it's getting more and more crazy as time go on and as the world go on. And that's why these conversations are so important. Chris, I want to thank you again, young man. You always add great insight. Brother Yusef, I love you, young brothers. You young brothers are young, but you guys got a lot of insight. Chris, how old are you? About 30? How old are you, Chris?
38.
Oh, you look good.
38. Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you look real good. Brother Yusef, how old are you?
I'm not even joking. I swear, I'm looking at. I thought he was mid-20s, bro. I'm like,
yeah. He look about 28. He must be juicing, man. You do a lot of juicing.
Damn.
A lot of working out, man, and I try to keep the sugar intake and things of that nature down. Man.
Good, man. You look good for your age, bro. You look very good, man, for your age, man. But real quick, guys, I think you guys have talked about the issue that we're talking about. But I'm gonna say this in the under 5 minutes, under 3 minutes. What are the?
This is the part of the show where we find solutions.
And so we're talking about broader solutions. Broader, we talked about pockets of it, but let's bring it in. Let's bring it home. Starting with Brother Yusuf, in under 2 minutes. What are the solutions, man, moving forward for young men, old men, and men in general?
So, man, I hesitate giving anyone solutions, but I can say what worked for me. The solution I use for myself, which I think is the best example I can give, is to keep to oneself. Keep your dick in your pants, number one. That's the first problem. You won't have to go through a woman putting you through hell, deleting a child that you may want to keep. You won't have to go through child support. You won't have to go through marriage. It's not saying don't deal with women at all, but just be very thoughtful and conscious of the type of woman that you choose to have around you. That is more than just a physical thing. That is a spiritual thing. Take care of yourself. Take care of your health. Take care of your wealth. And that's what I do. Build yourself up. Focus on you. Be selfish. I tell men to be selfish because I'm selfish. And when you have a full cup, then that's running over. You can then help other people. But you got too many people who want to, or too many men who want to, who stretch themselves thin, trying to help everyone else around them except for themselves. Number one, take care of numero uno. Because otherwise we wouldn't be having issues with heart disease or, like I said, child support or dealing with abortion or deletion and all these other different aspects in society that are not favorable towards men. You want to deal with a lot of the laws that are unfavorable towards men, that are anti-men. Because I don't. I keep myself out of trouble. I stay out of the prison system. And I observe. I look at what other men have been through, and I say, well, okay, I'm not going to do that. Or I see what other men have been through that's beneficial to them. I say, okay, I'm going to do that. So I take bits and pieces, and I'm not just observe. You don't have to put your hand on the hot stove to know that it's hot. You can look at a man who goes, ouch, and decide, oh, all right, I'm not going to do that. You can't avoid every mistake in the book. I definitely still make mistakes, but I'm much more calculated in the decisions I make. So I think men need to be more calculated in the decisions that they make and how they move, so they can and just be careful in this society that we live in, Western society, specifically America, because you don't have a whole lot of leeway. Once you screw up once, all it takes is one time. All it takes is one oops, and you're pretty much screwed for life in a lot of different ways. Or it's very difficult for you to dig yourself out of that hole or climb yourself out of that quicksand. So that's the solution I would give. Is the solution is what I apply to my own life, which is why I'm just chilling. I can look at it and not be upset about things and just say, damn, that's pretty fucked up. And then I just keep going about making my money. Like, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about like what Chris was talking about, the recession that's coming on and inflation and gas. Right. I don't feel none of that shit. So a lot of men focus on getting their bag, making their money, however way they got to make it, so they can prepare themselves to either weather out the storm here in this country or take their resources and their money and the strength of the American dollar and go someplace else like a Brazil or Colombia or most of these other countries out in the world that do favor and love and respect men. Yes. And a lot of the problems will be solved. Right. And that's just what I'm doing.
But it's happening, man. I'm going to be in the movie Frustrated 3 with Al Grease, man. It's going to be dropping soon. We're going to be doing a preview show preview show soon. Al Grease, El Guapo, and a few other brothers, man. You guys, please tune in and share the stream because, I keep telling guys, man, as a licensed therapist, these shows are time consuming. Many times I don't even have time to breathe, man, but I got to start doing what Chris is doing, lifting weights again. I'm detoxing, drinking plenty of water with lemon and and mint leaves and all that, man, and keep my health on point, man, because this YouTube type of stuff can be very toxic, and it can be very draining. So when brothers support the channel and support the stream, it gives me the invigoration to move forward. Chris Norwood, under 2 minutes, man. The solutions, you talked about it in part, but let's make it more generalized and more broader. What are the solutions with number 1, number 2, moving forward?
Oh, your mic.
Glad to get used to that. I appreciate it. But a lot of times when it comes to solutions, is looking the solutions align within the problems. And I think a lot of times, is looking in the mirror. So looking in the mirror ourselves, being able to hold ourselves accountable, allowing those who are in our network, and then narrowing that down to a tribe, a real close circle, people who can you're allowed to be truthful with one another and hold each other accountable. So that's one way. Also understand, as far as like happiness, it's not your job to make somebody else happy. And don't even waste time if somebody can't make themselves happy or find joy in life and things of that nature, and different things that they do. Then again, that's not your job. And unfortunately, a lot of times as Black men, we have been indoctrinated and trained and brought up to always go above and beyond and put ourselves last for somebody who's ungrateful. And so we have to get out of that and understand too that a lot of what we see going on with the crowd, such as consumerism and things of that nature, if you follow the crowd, you're going to go where the crowd is. And all you have to do is look at the statistics and the numbers, and you'll realize that a lot of where the crowd is going financially, economically, health-wise, is they're going down the path that's going to lead to destitute, that's going to lead to just not good things. So a lot of times do the opposite of what you see most people do. And so, get your close-knit circle, get your network, get your tribe, rely on one another, bounce things off. I was watching a podcast earlier, and Robert T. Kiyosaki was on there. I had a chance to read his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, years ago. And that opened my eyes up to like financial literacy and some things that I had never, I wasn't privy to. And then also I read his other book, Cash Flow. He has so many, but another one called Cash Flow Quadrant. And so the podcast, what he said intelligence is basically the edge of a coin. So when the edge of a coin stands up, then, and what intelligence does is it always takes a look at both sides. So that's another thing too, is never just block yourself off to one side or one party or this and that or whatever the case may be, but be able to look at both sides objectively and be able to make decisions that way. But again, the truth and the solutions lie within the problem, and just like greatness relies on us, we just gotta be able to pull it out. So that's another reason I like working out. You mentioned about working out soon. Right. I like to do it every other day because it continues to build those habits of discipline, consistency, right, perseverance. And I make sure I go in there and I challenge myself. Like even when I do squats, a lot of times when I'm in there doing squats, people who know me or don't know me, they watch me because they see me putting that weight and more, and they probably thinking, is this guy going to be able to do that? And then they see me do it. And some people just look and won't say anything. Other people, they'll stop and say things. And so what it does, one thing I like about squats, and I'm going to leave on this note, is it's just like life. If you want to take it easy and go at it, most people in the gym, I noticed they avoid it because that's one of the hardest exercises to do. But just like life, if you practice putting a lot of weight and pressure on yourself, not even just with the world, because the world going to do that regardless. But right, you start doing it yourself, have like that Mamba mentality, even when the weight of the world feels like it's on your shoulder at the lowest point, like when you're on that squat. Right. All that work that you've been putting in and you've been building yourself up with the perseverance to be able to just, keep moving forward no matter how many storms of rain, you'll still, even at your lowest point, you'll still have enough strength to be able to say, you know what, if I stay down here, it's over. Or I can get the strength to gather to bring it back up and to rise above no matter what. So again, man, I appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. You're brother.
Else, man. You gotta take care.
Yeah, you and brother Yusef, man. I appreciate you guys did an excellent job. And Chris and Yusef, guys, make sure y'all hit all notifications, man. Hit all notifications. Thank you, brother Yusef. $5 super chat. He said great conversation. Hit all notifications because many times YouTube don't send the notifications out, man. You
Hey,
know,
Chris, drop your Facebook. I'm gonna add you.
Right.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Many times, guys, YouTube don't hit the notification. So I need 35 people that are watching. Hit all notifications on your cell phone. Once you guys hit it, put one in the thing. Got a good show for you guys coming up tomorrow with Angry Man. Hopefully, if things go well, and also Sunday. But these shows are very important. So hit one, guys, on your phone. When you hit one, let's have a conversation, guys, because I want to make sure you guys are getting the notifications, because many times the notifications are not going through. So once again, Brother Chris, I appreciate it, man. Much love and blessing to you. You're going to inspire me to get my big behind back in the gym and start lifting weights because, actually, I got a nice weight, 300-pound weight bench, Olympic style in my garage. Got a jump rope. I got strength bands. I got an over $2,000 Trek bike I need to start riding. And I need to start getting serious about my health again, man, because, being a therapist is very sedentary. And I notice when I lift weights, man, I feel a lot better, man. So I want to get back into the throws. I mean, even at 50 years old, I mean, I'm older, but, it's good for a man's testosterone to keep his testosterone levels up, especially if you got to be called to defend. So once again, guys, I'm proud of you young men. And like I said, guys, we'll be having a powerful show on tomorrow and also on Sunday. And guys, do me a favor, share the content, help this channel grow, help liberate the minds of the young and old. And remember, guys, if it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right, guys. We signing off. And once again, it's been a great show. Thank you, brothers. All right, let me see. Where's the link? All right. Warning. You are about to enter a territory that's designated by men for all men. And while my platform is clearly designated for all men, many times I will be talking about issues that are endemic only to men of the ADOS descent. If you are a woman coming into the Kosher Clinician Show, understand that these topics are topics that are more or less salient to male issues. You need to be mature. You need to be open-minded. You need to listen. To those that think that because they come or allow women to come in this space, that this space will be compromised for the sake of beauty, image, or more or less chicanery of any form, you will be greatly deceived. My platform is designed to empower men and to empower good women that are trying to find resolve. And while my channel is designated primarily for the functioning of male rights and male empowerment, it is good and clear for balance to hear a different perspective. You have been warned. If listening to the Kosher Clinician is not advantageous to your psyche, please exit left. Are you a victim of brokenness and despair? A broken man is a hopeless man, and a hopeless man is a very dangerous man. Many times, many of you young men that are listening come from homes that are very toxic and very dysfunctional. And because of that, many of you have deferred your power in many ways to the point it's led over into your social life, and many times led over into your relationships. If you guys are dealing with mental health pathologies, conscious and unconscious, come see me at kosherclinician@gmail.com. That's kosherclinician@gmail.com. It's important that you deal with your mental health in order to be a better person for yourself, your loved ones, and also your community. But because mental health is often stigmatized, many of you often suffer in silence. Don't be a victim in silence. And see me once again at kosherclinician@gmail.com. And I need you guys to remember this. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. There are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become an optimized male. And male mental health is one of those elements that's paramount to the functioning of a man. Be well.
Tell them run it up. I wake up. Yeah. I wake up, flex, thumb down now, check, no drip this, wet. Tell them run it up, no sleep, no rest, might crash, might wreck, but first I stretch, tell them run it up. I wake up, flex, thumb down now, check, no drip this, wet. Tell them run it up, no sleep, no rest, might crash, might wreck, but first I stretch, tell them run it up. 9 out of 10 roll through my hands, I'm by my lonely. Turned to a savage, now my baby wants to hold me. I love my fans, don't need no friends, I got my homies.